You're watching live coverage of Planet Comicon, only on Sci-Fi For Me TV.
Continuing our live coverage here at Planet Comicon in Kansas City, Jason Hunt talking now with Brian W. Peterson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
His first book, Children of the Sun, his second book, Dead Dreams, they are not anything alike from what you were telling me. So tell me about the books, and then we'll get into how you got started and which processes.
Sure. Children of the Sun is a sci-fi adventure. It's about two young men who find out that their families are on opposite sides of a civil war that's raging on another planet. They don't know anything about it. They think, as far as they know, they are regular, normal Earth people like you and me. And when they find out otherwise, they are enemies. What would you do if your best friend's destiny was to kill you?
Interesting. So what was the mental prompt that started you on this story?
Several different pieces to that. One is that when I was a kid, there was no doubt that I was not adopted. I'm a lot like my parents in physical attributes, like wide foot, high instep, bad eye, asthma, right. All these things. And I was a crud. I come from a nutty family. But I thought, wouldn't it be neat though if aliens came down and took me from them and said, well, thanks for raising them, and now we got to take them back.
Sure.
And so that was one little aspect of the story. And so because of that, it was important for me to keep this so that teenagers could enjoy this as well. So this has had a wide range of ages, but I wanted to keep this as a story that mothers would not be upset if their teenagers read this.
So does this count then in the young adult category?
Yes.
Then, or
yeah.
Okay.
And there's different aspects of it, but that was one thing is I knew I wasn't adopted, so I thought, wouldn't it be cool if aliens could come get me?
And then the idea of finding out your best friend is the enemy, is that's almost a Romeo and Juliet type of dynamic. The two warring factions, the two families that don't get along.
A little bit, and that did not play a factor. To me, the best part of Romeo and Juliet was the line, "Oh, happy dagger." That just struck me as funny. That was not a factor. I did enjoy the whole, basically the concept that best friends are now enemies and they know each other and they know how each other think.
Right.
And that would be your worst enemy. Someone who knows what your next move is as you're thinking out that next move.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, it's kind of there are it's almost an archetype of sorts where you have that kind of thing where that dynamic gets shifted. We saw Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker type
Yes.
of thing where you have
Yes.
the one little thing changes your entire life, just turns the whole thing upside down. What was it in The Killing Joke? Where the Joker says, all it takes is one bad day. And it sounds like your protagonist, David Steele, apparently has the one bad day where he finds out his best friend's an enemy. So how do they approach that change in the relationship? Or are we going into spoiler territory?
No, we're
there?
fine there. There's a scene where they're confidants, and our protagonist David says, he has to talk to him. He has to talk to his best friend, and he finally has that moment where he can tell him, hey, this is what happened. The spaceship came for me, and it's explained in the story why they don't take him like they're supposed to. And his best friend is absorbing it and accepting it and not saying, you're out of your mind. No spaceship could have come from you.
Right.
Because he already has some recent knowledge about who they are. Our main character does not know.
So the best friend knows before the
right.
protagonist.
But he doesn't know that who they're searching for is his best friend. And so he has a little bit of knowledge. So there's a moment when they're talking to each other, and his best friend has the silent attitude of, okay, I'll get as much information I can. And when they finally reveal to each other then there's that moment of, no, this can't be happening.
Right.
And that was a fun scene to do. That was fun to write, because one thing that I don't like is, whether it's in a movie or if it's in a novel, is when somebody goes through something emotional and it gets glossed over.
Sure.
Whether it's a death or something like we're talking about right now, and then it's forgotten a few scenes later. This is something that would really shake your world. And your best friend is now your enemy. And so that's something that I deal with, that psychological aspect. Even though this isn't the psychological thriller, I still deal with the fact that this guy's really messed up. Now all of a sudden he's alone in the world.
Right.
He's not who he thought he was. He has no one he can trust, even though his guardians, his aunt and uncle, he's supposed to be able to trust them. But now his confidant, his best friend, is his enemy, and he feels all alone.
And his aunt and uncle, I guess they're in on the secret and they haven't told him?
Correct.
All right, so they've essentially been lying to him.
Correct.
So there's that aspect of it as well. So is this a one-shot, or is this the beginning of an arc series of books?
My plan right now is it's a one-off.
Okay.
I understand how the industry works, and a lot of people like series. And in fact, working the booth with me today at Comicon is a cousin of mine who's saying, I'm working on him, and he wants a prequel or a sequel.
So let me ask you this, because this is an all-important question. Did you put Jennifer in the car at the end of the movie? Because that will mess you up if that's not where you want to go.
I resisted the urge.
Okay. All right. Now, you've got another book, Dead Dreams, which is not science fiction. It is a psychological thriller. We're talking about
Correct.
that. What's that one about?
Dead Dreams is the story of a young man who moves back home with his parents. He's a 20-something.
Mm-hmm.
Moves back home with his parents, and right away he begins having dreams. Each one's different, but each one ends the same. His parents, or his family, including his brother, murder him. He is afraid that it's premonition. He gets psychological help, but he's slipping away from reality.
Okay.
So he's losing touch with what's real and what's dream, and he convinces himself that he either has to stop the dreams or he has to stop his family.
Now, is there any kind of supernatural, or is this is completely psychological thriller, or
Correct.
there's
nothing supernatural? The genesis of this is, I have been a sleepwalker since I was a little kid.
okay?
I haven't sleptwalked much in the last probably 10 years, but throughout all my childhood and a lot of my adulthood, I sleptwalk. So, and I've done some goofy things. And originally, I wanted to write a story about sleepwalking and infuse sleepwalking into it.
Right.
But as I started laying the story out, I started realizing, it's not the direction I'm going here. And I'm fascinated with dreams, and I have intense dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of these people, I wake up and I'm going, whoa, that was awesome.
So you remember yours?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most of them, yes.
Yeah.
And, there have been times I have awakened in the middle of the night, and I go write them down. I've had some really neat dreams, and I have really intense dreams. And so what happened is I started gravitating away from the sleepwalking and toward the dreams, and there's no sleepwalking in this. And I'm so fascinated by dreams, I started developing a story that revolved around dreams. And that's how this all came to be.
Sure. Okay. So what got you started writing, and why young adult?
It's not, I would say, I'll back up and start with Children of the Sun. That's my overall favorite story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I started there. And I have a lot of stories in my computer, on paper, and still in my head that I haven't written down yet. So that's why I started with that one.
Okay.
With the main characters in their 20s, I really didn't think of it as young adult, but it's one that multiple ages
Hits that tween
Yeah,
age between
exactly.
the two. Yeah.
So I didn't look at it as, well, I'm a young adult writer, but it just so happened that younger characters starting out.
It seems like, though, in recent years, the last 2 or 3, 4 years especially, we've had a lot of young adult science fiction and fantasy. a lot of werewolf stuff. Shadow Hunters and Teen Wolf. All of these different stories that have been adapted into television and movies. Is there a push? And I don't know if you've had a lot of conversations with the traditional publishers, the big the big presses. Do you detect a trend in the YA market that we want more science fiction, we want more supernatural, we want more fantasy, in order to have things that can be adapted for other media?
Well, two things. First, I don't know about a push, but I'd say a pull. And when you look at Hollywood and the film industry, this is the age group that keeps going back and seeing movies over and over.
Right.
And when a lot of the age group didn't see Rogue One once, they saw it 3, 4, 5 times. So that's the number one target audience. It was 18 to 35, I think it is.
Something like that.
And then the other aspect of it is when you have something like Planet Comicon, and you see how huge this was. Last year it was 75,000 people. This year they say it's going to be bigger, and it appears that way to me. And so, you not everybody here is sci-fi oriented. You've got a lot of people who are oriented toward fantasy and other genres. And so there's this outlet, there's this way for people to come together and share what they like. And it's not the case with psychological thrillers. It's not the case with, I know they have a limited amount of things they do with, say, romance novels, for example. But this is it. I mean, this is where it's happening. And so that makes it even more attractive for a writer, somebody who's just starting out, is, hey, I can take this to a Comic-Con and I can attract an audience for what I've written. So I think that's a large part of it. Because I haven't seen anybody dressed as a vampire walking around today, but I usually do.
Sure.
And so you can be a vampire writer here at Comic-Con, and you're going to have people interested in your work because of it.
Now, what's next on your plate? You're working on a sequel to Children of the Sun now, or something brand new?
No, something new. I have a title for it. I don't have... I know where I'm going with it. I know the story. I don't have the pitch down yet. Because it's a complex story, but it is a thriller, and it is not. I don't think it will be termed a psychological thriller, but it's going to be a straight up thriller.
Okay. Now, where can people find your books? I'm assuming Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your website. Where can they look?
Yeah. For starters, both are on Amazon.
Okay.
And when looking me up. My middle initial is important because there's a lot of Brian Petersons out there. Brian W. Peterson. Children of the Sun is available pretty much everywhere. It's everything from Barnes & Noble online to and every ebook platform.
Okay.
Dead Dreams right now is only available through Amazon. My publisher has worked out a 90-day exclusivity deal with Amazon. That will end around the end of May.
Okay.
Now, my website is writtenbybwp.com. Twitter is at writtenbybwp.com. Bit of a trend here.
Sure.
Facebook is written by BWP. And so that part's easy to remember.
Right.
But Amazon, if you go to Amazon, Dead Dreams, you type in Dead Dreams and it goes to the top. My book's the first one there.
Okay.
And so then you can either look at that book or click on my name, and that'll help you link to Children of the Sun.
Okay, Brian W. Peterson, thanks very much for your time. Good luck with all of your projects.
Thank you.
And you can find us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, YouTube, Tumblr, and that's just the start of where we are online. And what we're going to do is we are going to break out our individual interviews with everyone and upload them to YouTube, specifically each one. And in those, we will have links to everybody's site, everybody's social media, and all of that, so you can see. Brian, thanks very much for your time. I'll let you get back to your booth, and we continue our coverage here at Planet Comicon 2017 Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to make the attempt. We're going to experiment a little bit with our technology. Now, next Saturday, this coming Saturday, 6 days from now, you'd think that we're almost done with this. We are almost done with day 3 here, but then we turn right back around and we do it again. Coming up on May the 6th, which is Saturday, in 6 days. Just barely enough time to rest. A little bit. We have 2 events coming up. The first, it's Free Comic Book Day. Free Comic Book Day is the first Saturday of every May, every year. Comic book shops around the world are participating. Here in the United States, a lot of publishers put together free editions of their comics so they can put them out. They're promotional copies. They have the beginnings of stories. They have slices of stories, essentially trying to bait you into buying the book for reading the rest of the story. So Free Comic Book Day is coming up on Saturday. We are going to have a number of people across the country dialing in, very much like we did this morning with our interview with George and Basil Harris about the tricorder, and yesterday with Dawn Aldrin about her POW. We are going to bring people in via the Ansible from around the country to talk about the various different events going on for Free Comic Book Day, all the while preparing for that evening when the Battle for KC happens here in Kansas City. Now, these guys are out here today. We did an interview with them on an episode of H2O. Tim Harvey and I talked to them. And what's going to happen Saturday night down at Berkeley Riverfront Park in Kansas City, right on the shores of the Missouri River, the Mighty Mo, I think is what they call it. I'm from Texas. I don't know. There is going to be the attempt to set the world record for the largest lightsaber battle in history. They took delivery of over 10,000 plastic lightsabers. Tickets, I think, are still available, and you can find that battle4kc.com, the number 4. Hashtag is battle4kc. We've been posting to our Instagram. You can find that hashtag there with the little Battle for KC Stormtrooper. And essentially what they're going to do, they're going to section off pieces of the riverfront. They're going to put a certain number of people in each section. They're going to do a count. The Guinness World Records representatives will be on hand to officially count and certify that this is the largest lightsaber battle in the world, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. The 10,000 number is very ambitious, but they've only got a few hundred tickets left, so I think they're going to get close. In any case, whatever number they come up with, I'm sure it's going to be the largest lightsaber battle in the history of the world. And we are going to be out there covering it live as best we can, assuming the technology cooperates with us. So we're going to do a test coming up a little bit after 3 o'clock. We're going to post our staff, our reporters, all over the event here at Bartle Hall and try it to see what happens. No guarantees. We're going to see what goes on. Just real quick, I want to run through some of our partners that have been with us throughout the weekend, making all of this broadcast possible. First of all, TV25. They are giving us a signal boost with our signal going to their transmitters. Their transmitters taking our signal all the way out to TV25 over the air. They're a low-power TV station here in the Kansas City market, TV25.tv, our YouTube channel, Planet Comicon's YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and we really do appreciate Brian Short and the gang over at TV25 for that signal boost. And according to Brian, we've been getting quite a few people watching. So those of you who have been watching throughout the weekend, thank you very much. It's an all-volunteer staff that we have here. We enjoy what we do. We like all of this. We want to do more. And if you would like to help us do that, we do have a Patreon account. It's patreon.com/sci-fi for me. It's very easy to find, and you can support us that way. We also have to thank Atomic Cotton. They are our T-shirt supplier. They partner with us for a number of things, shirts and art for fans, by fans is their slogan. Zach and Erica over there have put together a business that's thriving, that's growing. They've combined their love of art and film and T-shirt design, and they've put this together. You can find all of their latest designs at atomiccotton.com. And also, I think this is the last day for it, but our podcasts, our 12 podcasts for the month of April, have had a sponsor, kind of a unique thing, humancharger.com. They call it Sunlight in Your Pocket. This is basically LEDs that have been inserted into earbuds. The scientific theory behind it is that for those of us who don't go out to go outside and get sunlight on our skulls, it's an alternate way of putting sunlight to your brain for the mental effects, the mental benefit, and it's developed in Finland. They say the simulated sunlight gets delivered directly to the brain through the ear canal using these earbuds, and it's supposed to help improve mood and attitude and emotional stability and alertness and that sort of thing. And right now for the month of April, so this is, I guess, the last day, if you enter the code Sci-Fi for Me at checkout, you can get a 20% discount, and you can find that over at humancharger.com. And also, I would be remiss if I left out the KC Film Office. Here in Kansas City, we had a panel yesterday with a number of special effects makeup artists, and we had a demo here live on our stage. All of that was made possible with the partnership of KC Film. Steph Scupham and their staff over there have been working really, really, really tirelessly and put in a lot of hours to attract film and television and web productions to the Kansas City area. This is essentially a creative crossroads here. Kansas City is dead center in the middle of the country. It's real easy to get to. Transportation-wise, there's a lot of access, and there's also the added benefit that Kansas City has their own tax incentive program within the city limits, 7.5%. So you don't even have to worry about the state. You have the city itself, Kansas City, has passed this in an effort to attract productions. And when you think about it, when you bring in a production here into town, American Ninja Warrior was just here for the second time, that adds to the local economy through restaurants and hotels and entertainment, in addition to hiring local crew, technicians and artists and makeup effects people and background actors and craft services and transportation and production assistants. All of that comes from the local economy. So there is a boost there. And Kansas City is really, really making an effort to boost and attract film production here in town. They've been doing a really good job of it. Steph has just been great as our Kansas City Film Commissioner, and we do appreciate all of the efforts that they've been making. All right, what do we do next, Mr. Harvey? Why don't you have a seat here and let's talk about what we're doing next?
Sorry, I just survived the food truck lines.
You don't have an excuse. You did actually get to eat.
Well, that it's not my fault you didn't go. You have not been on camera the whole time.
I've been over there. Push
Excuses.
Yes.
Actually, I went back to where I went yesterday.
Yes.
There was no line today.
That's good.
Guess how long it took me to get my food?
10 minutes. 5 minutes. Excellent.
As opposed to yesterday.
Excellent.
That's all I'm going to say.
Excellent.
It was a dark and terrible time. I'm scarred forever. What are we doing next?
That's a good question. We've got see. Okay, I've been looking out over this. Now, don't forget, TV25 is giving away these antennas.
Right.
I think there's like 15 of them. If you come by and mention that you saw us, they're giving those away. It's been an interesting experience. I will say that.
It's always an interesting experience.
What's the irony about these things? These big conventions, we come to these things. We came to Worldcon. We're doing this one. We're going to be at Smallville. We sit here.
Mm-hmm.
and we don't see very much of the event.
And if we do leave, it's like we go to get food.
Yeah.
And on the way, we're like, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Hi,
Yeah.
I need some food. Thank you very much. Okay,
And
that's cool, that's cool.
Yeah, and
then you're
straight back. You got to get back.
I mean, did you know there's like Star Wars stuff at that end?
Uh-huh.
And there's like cosplayers over there?
Uh-huh.
They're all the way over there.
But the only way that I know that is by walking the floor when it was empty before
Exactly.
anybody
We
was
haven't
here
even-
on Thursday. So
the only times I have been down to that end of the hall was yesterday when Dustin and I went down to our panel.
Right.
Because it's across. It's in another building.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's like
you got to go
gotta
through
all
there
the
and
way
across there and down there.
Do
and
not go down to the second floor and try and go across. You will never make it.
This
You
raises
can't get there from here.
This raises the question that I asked Kurt Critton about
Yeah.
on Friday. At what point? Because last year there were 70,000 people here.
Right.
This year,
I'm going to say more this year.
more this year, probably close to 100,000.
Wouldn't surprise me.
At what point does this event get too big?
Well, you know what? This is still a very large space that they're in, and there are other parts of the building that have not been gotten into in terms of expanding the space. I mean, there is a limited number of things you can do with a floor space, but there's rooms over there that they aren't in.
Right.
I mean, there's ways to use this space. It would require thinking about things maybe a little bit differently. Maybe you take Celebrity Row outside of this room.
Well, because New York had to split into two again.
Right.
They got so big, they said, okay, we're going to take all of the comic book stuff, which is how New York started.
Right.
And we're going to take it, and it's going to break off into its
Well,
own
but
thing.
one of the
and
advantages
then
we
New
have-
York becomes media.
Yeah, one of the advantages we have here in Kansas City, aside from all the advantages you just rattled off for coming to make film and TV projects,
I had a cheat sheet.
there are also, one of the advantages we have is that the accessibility of getting around means that if you needed to move if you needed to split Planet Comicon into two pieces, there are enough places around this building within very short walking distance
Right.
that if you were able to negotiate it, and I'm sure they could because of the money that would come in, you'd be able to sit there and go, here is where you're going to have Planet Comicon, the comic side of things, and you're going to do the media side over here at the Mulebach
Well,
or one of the other hotels that is like right over there.
In when we were here for WorldCon, Alan Dean Foster was working on an event. The Star Wars stuff
Right.
had gotten sidetracked to one of the hotels, and I
Right.
don't remember which hotel it was. We actually walked over there, and it's like just a block away,
Right.
to
So-
go interview him and talk with him.
Yeah, so it's a doable thing. I don't think they're there yet.
We spent over an hour with Alan Dean Foster, guys.
So Jason is interviewing him, and Jason is kind of having a
I had a
I'm
little
not
bit.
worthy moment.
I had a little bit of a fanboy
And
moment. I will
he's-
admit.
He's
yes.
holding it together pretty well. I mean, there's
yeah.
every now and again his eyes like are glazing over because
Yeah.
the coolness of because Alan
It's Alan Dean Foster.
But the interview ends, and Alan decided he wanted to hang around and talk with us.
Yeah,
and we
I
were
know,
like,
it's like-
okay. And then we kind of
Sure.
wandered back to the con, just chatting away, not moving very fast at all. It was great. Alan Dean Foster's a smart guy, and he's got great stories. He knows everybody and where the bodies might be buried.
Well, and you spent over half an hour talking with David Brin, and
Yeah.
you had that same kind of thing going.
Yeah, so
It's like, and
we're Worldcon, not you hate to talk about another convention where you're at a different one, but
well, we're
Worldcon-
establishing our street card for the people that at the next convention that
right,
want to bring
exactly.
us in.
This is our own little toot our horn moment.
Yes.
This is very much a comic book and media convention. Worldcon is a literature convention.
Right.
It's a science fiction and fantasy book convention. So yeah, I mean, it was, and I didn't want to cut him. I didn't want to cut David Brin off.
Oh no!
He just wanted to talk, and he had these great stories, and he had a panel to get to, like immediately afterwards. So much so that we're like, we're getting hand signs. Both of us are getting hand signs, and it's time to go. He's telling the story, not looking. I'm listening to him, not looking. We're just like, he's like,
well, and you finally notice that it's we're like you got to get him on. You got to get him done. Wrap him up.
and I'm like, you got a panel to go to. And he's like, oh crap, and he runs away.
And the whole time in the back
so
of
much-
in the back of Tim's head, he admitted it. I'm not going to tell David Brin to shut up. I'm not going to tell him to quit talking.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
He can tell him all. He can talk all he wants because he's another one. The really cool things, and if you were to go over to Celebrity Row and somehow get the ability to talk to all of them,
Yeah.
you could spend the entire weekend just listening to these people's stories. And honestly,
we haven't even gotten Tom over here yet, and the guys from Word Fire Press, Quincy and David, and those guys. We talked to them at Worldcon. We haven't had a chance to even go over there and say hi this weekend because it's been so chaotic here.
Well, and you look at, here's the cool thing.
It's a good problem to have. By the way.
There's all those great celebrities over there, right?
And over there. And where we can't show you.
Well, and you know what? These are people who make their living off their image.
That's true.
So, fair enough.
Yeah.
But they are over there, and they would all have great stories to tell. We could sit there and talk to John Barrowman for probably the whole weekend alone.
I don't know that we maybe want to talk to John Barrowman about his weekend.
Oh, has he not been having a great weekend?
Well, the pipe and drape collapsed on his stage.
Oh, no.
And somebody in the hearing impaired section tried to catch said pipe and drape and injured their hand.
Oh, no.
And I think I don't want to be talking out of turn because this is not, I don't want to reflect badly on Planet. But I'd heard that his tables weren't configured right on his space over here on Sullivan Road, and there was an issue there.
There are so many moving parts here, though. I'm gonna not bash on anybody. There's so many moving parts involved with this.
It is easy to get something. Well, even our stage.
Oh yeah.
When we got here, it was shouldn't it be going this way? Is it going this way? Is it going this way? Where is it supposed to be? Oh, there's water dripping in from the ceiling. So there's always something.
Now, the water dripping in from the ceiling is a zero complaint because it has been raining like the last 3 days here. The fact that the fact that this building is not bobbing back and forth on the sea that Kansas City has become is kind of a minor miracle.
Right.
But okay, maybe not John Barrowman, but certainly John Barrowman and Billy Piper and all these different folks, they could fill our entire weekend with stories to tell.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Oh, sure.
But the thing is that you got to look out on this floor here, and you can still see the floor, and you can see there's tons of people still here. It's Sunday afternoon, and everyone is here, and every one of these folks has a story to tell, and every one of these folks is what those folks over there started to be.
Yeah,
they're office fans.
One of the things that I like about what we've been able to do is, everybody comes to see the stars. Everybody comes to see the celebrities, the actors and whatnot. And we're able to shine a spotlight on people that you wouldn't normally, they're not the celebrities. They're not the stars.
Yes.
Our very first Comicon, our very first Planet Comicon, we interviewed Alex Grecian before he was writing Iron Man for Marvel. We interviewed Kevin Mellon before he was the storyboard artist for Archer. We interviewed Dennis Hopeless. We interviewed Carrie Callan. We interviewed, Tom Kane before he was on Rebels as Admiral Yularen, and he's playing Yoda and all these. So we're getting people at the beginning. I was able to interview Seth Peck. He's here this weekend, and at one point, there's on our YouTube channel you can find our interview with Seth Peck. His first story for Marvel was a Wolverine story for the Fear Itself line.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we got a chance to talk to him. Jason Aaron, we got a chance to talk to him when Star Wars #1 debuted. He's the Star Wars writer now.
Right.
So we're getting these people at the I don't want to say at the beginning of their careers, but we're getting them early.
Now, this is not to give us that
we're not launching anybody, but wouldn't it be nice?
We're not. This is not a geek hipster moment where we're like, we knew them before they were cool. We've always been fans.
Now we can say though.
We
knew Catherine McNamara.
Well, the thing is that we did know them before they were cool.
Yeah.
Actually, before
we
they
knew
were
them
famous.
before a
we
lot
knew
of
they
people
were before
knew
they were cool. We knew them when they were cool. We knew them before they were famous, or they'd had that break. Because as everybody knows, who has ever been an actor or a writer or an artist or a musician or any of these things that so many people in this building are, overnight success takes decades.
Yes.
Takes a
lot of time.
It is so incredibly. You hear about the Kyle MacLachlans whose first role gets him Paul in David Lynch's Dune. Okay,
yeah. Or Shelley Duvall going into Popeye.
Right. That's not what happens. For the vast majority of performers, they might be in theater for decades before, literally decades, or a couple of years, or a decade, or whatever, before they get their break on television and movies. Yeah. That may not be what they want to do. They're not even thinking about it, but they become a movie star. Well, they've had this long career, or a musician who's been playing in a bar, touring around bars for 10 years, suddenly gets one song, right? And then suddenly they're blown up. you look at Tom Kane has been a working voice artist for how long?
Oh my goodness!
Exactly. I mean, Tom's a fantastic guy, but a large chunk of fandom knows him from Yoda.
Yes.
And that was not that long ago. So, I mean, you look at somebody who's had a successful and strong career like that, but he becomes exposed to the fans in a way that is new to them, but he's had a great career.
Well, and I think, too, you get things like Star Wars Celebration, which is streaming online.
Right.
Wonder where they got that idea.
No idea.
No, they were doing it before we were, so we'll give them that one. But
not until we travel back in time.
But now Tom is actually on camera,
right?
And people now can see. Well, this is the guy who voices Yoda. This is the guy who who is Admiral Yularen and the narrator Smurf and Professor Newtonium on the Powerpuff Girls, and that. So there's a little bit more exposure for him now, and the recognition is coming as a part of that. But also the fact that he's from the Kansas City area, all of us around here, that's just Tom. He's just Tom. I've tried to get that, explained to people who come onto the staff. One of the things when they're talking about interviews, how do I interview these people? And it's like, all right. You have to remember one thing before anything else. They're people. They're just people like us, except they have a really cool job.
And you'll note we started this whole discussion about these folks with Jason getting a little starry-eyed with, Alan Dean Foster and me getting a little starry-eyed with David Brin.
That's the kind of thing that happens.
You can't help it. I mean, you can't help it.
We are not 50 feet from the General Lee.
That's just, we're not 50 feet from Ecto 1.
This is cool stuff.
Not 50, if we're
the
not 50
DeLorean is
the
over
DeLorean.
there.
I mean,
you know what would have made of the weekend is if Kit were here.
No, if we were broadcasting from inside the DeLorean.
That would be cool. Oh! That reminds me.
Yes.
There's a story, and we retweeted it on our Twitter account, which you can find at twitter.com/sci-fi4me. Let me see if I can find it. This came out as an article in TheVerge.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it to say this morning. This is a where is it? The flying car. And I want you take a look at that video. This is a company in Germany. They just did successful tests in Germany. It is an all-electric flying car that's got some 35 different electric jet engines. Lilium is the company, and they have just successfully tested this
very
thing.
Nice.
No emissions. It's vertical takeoff and landing. And it's got the wings. And they don't look like they're moving, so I'm assuming that they're fixed wing. But it is there it is, right there, the flying car. We have a flying car. And they're going to do a test with Uber. This
is what Uber was talking about with the flying car story not too long ago.
Could very well be, yeah.
Okay, this kind of terrifies me. I spend a significant chunk of my day job inside a car driving up I-35. And I have been more than once pointed out that I-35 is the devil. If there is a hell, I-35 crosses through it at least at a couple of different points. And flying cars kind of terrify me.
A little bit.
I love this town. I love Kansas City, but I drive here professionally, so it's kind of like Kansas City drivers freak out when the water comes down from the sky in any form.
Yeah,
they've never seen it before, except for the last time they saw it a week ago.
Yeah,
or
snow.
God, don't even get started on snow.
Right.
But a flying, I don't know. It's so cool and yet kind of terrifying.
Yeah. All right. So we mentioned our Twitter earlier. We do have all sorts of social media. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Those are our big ones.
Right.
We're also on Pinterest. We're on Google Plus. We don't do anything with it. Twitch, Tumblr. So you can find us all there. I'm going to step aside and let Dan come in and sit here for a little bit. And we will continue our discussion. Come around here, Dan, and I'll let you have the microphone. I'm going to go take care of a couple of things here. So y'all carry on
I love the generic a couple
Run
of
away!
things. He's going to take care of a couple of things.
Yeah, well, he might go. You're going to put food in him.
Well, that would be a good thing.
Because it's a challenge. It is a challenge to get away. The fact that I was able to actually get away and go get food was very, very nice.
I was lucky when I went earlier that the line wasn't too horribly long.
Yeah, that was actually, depending on where you are today. I mean, we talked about this before. It is such a huge number of people, and there are lots of different places you can get food here at convention prices. It's how it works. But the lines yesterday were really kind of scary, and today they're much more manageable. It is a smaller number of people. It's not. There's still a lot of people here, but it's definitely smaller than yesterday. That's just the reality of it. Some folks, of course, traveled in from out of town. Those folks came in probably Friday, or they came in on Saturday morning, and they left Saturday. They headed home, or they're headed home this morning.
Right. Well, just like you have some people who are coming in here for Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
We're not in on Friday. We get that a lot of times with celebrities. They're not going to be here all 3 days. So, got the little domo.
That's right. This is one of the mystery boxes last night. He doesn't stand up well. He has... Oh, there you go. Just had to give him a good shove.
He just had to sober up.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Which we had a nice little fun unboxing. If you did not see that, you can check it out on our
we actually have
YouTube.
some of the boxes are lurking around here. I don't know if they have anything in them anymore. Probably not. I think they consolidated them. Yeah, Dustin Adair gave me a Lament configuration box from Hellraiser. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Probably not a good thing. But hey, that's tough because we will be back with Zompocalypse Now. We actually are this week's upcoming episode of Zompocalypse Now, which will come out on Tuesday, is actually the live Zompocalypse Now one we recorded yesterday at noon with a live audience, some of which I think actually got picked up by the microphone.
Oh,
so you might
interesting.
actually be able to hear the live audience. Maybe.
Yep.
It's always a challenge to do the live stuff because, of course, people want to sit in the back of the room. Nobody wants to sit up close. We're going to make them sit up close next year, I think. But so we're gonna have that'll come out. That'll be our live show.
That's when you got to have the microphone stand and say, if you have a question, come up to the microphone.
Right. Well, and it really wasn't set up for that in our room, but it's nonetheless it's a very audience interactive kind of version of the podcast, and then we'll be back with our Santa Clarita diet. I have so much trouble saying Santa Clarita diet. I do not know why. But it's like...
Guess you haven't gone past Atkins.
Well, oh, yes. Well... anyway, the good news about editing the podcast is I can cut out a significant chunk of my tripping over words. Because you may have noticed, if you're watching this live, you notice that I've tripped over a few this weekend. And that's just the way I talk.
This is him sober, ladies and gentlemen.
I know. There is a beer stand right there.
Sober on coffee.
Okay.
Unless the caffeine's worked its way out.
No. I had a big. I don't have it with me. My Sci-Fi for Me travel mug, which was made for Jason and I. My Sonia, who does podcasts with us as well, and old friend of Jason's. She got those for us, and so that's really cool to have. But it's very big, and that's what I filled up today, and I drank it in like 30 minutes, even though it keep things nice and hot, because there's just so much to do, and you got to be in a hurry to get things. And and the coffee over there is actually really good, but it's convention prices. Again, perfectly understandable. That's what this is.
Yeah,
so,
it's like you talk about having to get places and the long lines and that type of thing. It's like yesterday, I went to get some food before I moderated the DMC panel, and I was like, oh, here's a line for pretzels that's not too long. Actually, no, there was a gap in the line because they needed to make room for people crossing through. The line was longer, and I'm like, never mind. The gal who was working there says, oh, the line's not that long. I said, I don't have time to stand in line, eat it, and make it to my panel.
Right. There's not that long is a relative term for these folks because they're dealing with hundreds of people. So, I mean, we've got, there's food, there's a food,
a
restaurant wall thing over there.
Well, there's a barbecue place.
Yeah, barbecue place over there.
They say barbecue. I haven't actually tested to see if it's real barbecue.
Papa John's. There's other places over there. There's a bunch of little different kiosks around. That far end of the hall that Jason and I were talking about not getting over to ever has got like 3 food trucks and some lemonade truck. There's a root beer stand.
Yes.
A Western-themed root beer stand,
They do a lot of like fairs and festivals in town too.
Right. I thought it was a little interesting when it comes to connecting with science fiction and fantasy. But you know what? I like root beer, so I'm really tempted to go over and get some. So yeah, it is a challenge to get over there, however, and get food when you're working on a schedule like we are.
Yeah.
So there.
But when you're a guest when you're a visitor, and you can have time to go around, definitely go around, see the sights.
You're here with your friends and you're hanging out. You're standing in line together, talking, and showing off the cool thing you just bought. I mean that could be a lot of fun. I mean, that's part of the
the bad part is all the walking. The good part is all the good stuff you get to see and
Right.
experience makes up for the lot of walking. It makes the walking worth it.
Well, and I we hinted at this a lot, but it's hardly a complaint. But we are up here through most of the time that other people are getting out and getting to play in the con. We've got a great view, though. I cannot complain about this view.
I know.
I don't know. We've got a webcam that's pointing out into the world, but it's been having focus. It's trying to focus on everything. Which means it's focusing on nothing.
Yep.
The technology let us down there, I'm afraid. But still, we've got this. So I can't really show it to you, but we've got this amazing view here. If we stand up and go to the railing, we're looking over booths to the far end of the hall. We're looking not over enough, unfortunately, to Celebrity Row. Or I guess that's probably for the best. Again, licensing stuff.
Well, we can't get it with the camera anyway.
Right.
We're not allowed to.
We do have a view of the webcam a little bit, yeah. So it is. It's a good thing to do. I mean, we're having a good time, but again, we don't have the ability to go out and play as much as
as we would
everyone
like.
does. So, but that's nonetheless. Worldcon, we had a little more time to move around because we once if you had a string of interviews, you could keep one person up there for a while doing the interviews, and the rest of it you could like run over and look at this thing over here, or this thing over there.
But this one, there's.
Don't say hi or anything, Nicole.
We're on air. We're live on air.
Hi.
Nicole is usually here in costume.
Usually.
And
Good to see you.
I was yesterday. I was X23.
Oh.
But with the rain
Oh.
and being
Yeah.
in weather from head to toe,
Oh.
it was like Suffocation City.
Oh,
so
I don't know.
Yeah.
today, civilian.
When we got here on Thursday to set up the stage and everything, and it wasn't quite finished yet, there was a piece of it where the stairs are now that was sitting over to the side, and Jason and I were like, this is where the cosplay girls will go. And everyone was like, that's a great idea. We're like, yeah. And then facilities came by and went, no, this has to go away. It violates the health code being here. We're like, oh. Oh, well, fine.
Fire Coach Marco.
I know.
We want
Health and
it for the
safety.
cosplay
What's wrong
girls.
with you people?
Yeah.
Oh, there were 3 chairs sitting out there randomly. It's like, they were sitting on top of the platform. It's like, why are the 3 chairs just for the judges? Yes, that would be they would be judging the giant cosplay contest. We had all these great ideas, which they completely crushed.
Of course they
Hopes
did.
and dreams, got to destroy them.
Just destroyed. I'm so sorry. Well, it was good to see you both.
Good to see
It's
you.
good to see you too.
Yes. All right, I'm going to get to it.
All right.
Have fun.
Great
Yes.
great thing about being in our local hometown. We see a lot of people we know.
I know. It's great. We can you come here. All right. So we do want to take a minute to talk about the folks at KC Film and the KC Tourism Board and all the fantastic folks who make all of this possible. KC Film, Kansas City, of course, is at the crossroads of the country. It's also a creative crossroads. There's so much talent in all the arts here that it is easy for the folks on the East Coast and the West Coast not even think about Kansas City, and that's a terrible, terrible mistake because there's a lot here to offer. We have been welcoming film and television and just about any kind of entertainment to Kansas City for a really long time. For the last couple of years, we've had Steph Scuppum, who has been the head of the KC Film Office, and she has done an amazing job of bringing in film and television. We just had American Ninja Warrior filming here for the second time.
Yep.
We've had feature films shot in Kansas City. We've had Jason and I worked on an MTV game show about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now. You were on an MTV show.
I was on an MTV show. Yes.
So it is very cost effective and very efficient to make those sort of things here in Kansas City. We don't have film permits here. We have streets you can get around on.
And street closures is actually very cheap around here.
It is. We actually have there's a producer from I want to say from a reality show out in LA that came out, and it shows up on, Steph's got it on her production reel for the film office, and basically it's, he talks about how easy it is to get around here, and just how much they would get so many different setups. It was just fantastic. So it is a fantastic place to come to do that sort of thing here in Kansas City. Go to visitkc.com, go to filminkc.com, and you can find all sorts of information about coming to Kansas City and you having your production done here. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I don't know what's going to happen when we're going to come back. We'll come back with more cool stuff.
It's a surprise.
It is a surprise. At 2:45, we'll be back
us.
with more great stuff.
What comes to mind when you think of Kansas City? Jazz? Barbecue? Baseball? Sure, but Kansas City has a motion picture history rich with Hollywood ties. You've probably heard of 18th and Vine, but what about 31st and Forest, where the Walt Disney pioneered animation? It was here that Disney founded his first animation company, Laugh-O-Gram Studios. Disney would later say he was working late one night at his desk when he first found a mouse that would become the office pet and the inspiration for his most iconic character. Nearby, you'll find Kansas City's historic Film Row. For 40 years, every major Hollywood studio distributed films from this 4-block area, making KC one of the largest distribution hubs in the country. These buildings still stand as a symbol of our movie heritage. KC wasn't just supplying the movies. We also supplied some of Hollywood's biggest names like Jean Harlow, Ginger Rogers, Joan Crawford, and the legendary director Robert Altman. Not to mention stars of today like Diane Weiss, Chris Cooper, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stonestreet, Don Cheadle, and Paul Rudd. Today, the city's film ties continue. More filmmakers than ever are choosing Kansas City to bring their visions to life, making KC an up-and-coming destination for independent and studio productions. And now, you can experience it all with KC Film's tourism program. Take in the sights and sounds of Kansas City's cinematic history. Get started at visitkc.com/film tourism.